Hello, how do you do? Neil Martin is my name, and I would like to talk to you a little about The Helping Hand, a piece I wrote a few years, 3 years ago for the Ulster Orchestra. It came about through the orchestra touring to parts of the north that they hadn't been before and to venues that couldn't accommodate the full orchestra, so they wanted to have some chamber music concerts, and they asked me to write something for the concert in the Seamus Heaney HomePlace in Balahi. And Seamus and myself had been friends for a long time, for about 25 years, and we knew each other well. So after thinking and reading through a lot of stuff, there were two main poems I settled on for The Helping Hand: Station Island and The Given Note. And I'll talk a little more about The Given Note in a while. But Station Island was a series of poems that Seamus wrote in the early 1980s. And they were based on his experiences of going to Loch Derg, a pilgrimage on the Fermanagh-Donegal border, and he went there as a student, so that's probably dates it to something like the late 1950s. And it's a fairly tough, intense pilgrimage, not much food, not much rest, and so on. And anyway, all those years later then come the 1980s when Seamus wrote the poem. In the dream of the poem, if you like, in the world of the poem, he talks about, as he's coming ashore on a boat, a bony hand coming down from the jetty, a helping hand to help him up onto the terra firma. And he recognizes in this poem after a while that person helping him up is the James Joyce, who's encouraging him, saying you need to do your own thing, you need to get back into harness, ignore what anybody else thinks about your work and your poetry, step up to the plate and write it. So I decided to write for an octet, and I based it on the same instrumentation as Schubert's octet. That's clarinet, bassoon, French horn, and one of each of the strings. And The Helping Hand is in three movements. The first movement portrays something of the confusion and the anxiety of someone trying to find their own voice. The second movement, the slow movement that I'll talk about a little later, is based on Port na Buckie, a traditional air from Kerry. And the third movement in The Helping Hand is full of zeal and energy and invigoration, and Seamus powered on, as it were, by the shade of James Joyce in the poem.
Station Island, 12. Like a convalescent, I took the hand stretched down from the jetty, sensed again an alien comfort as I stepped on ground to find the helping hand still gripping mine, fish cold and bony. But whether to guide or to be guided, I could not be certain, for the tall man in step at my side seemed blind, though he walked straight as a rush upon his ash plant, his eyes fixed straight ahead. Then I knew him in the flesh, out there on the tarmac among the cars, wintered hard and sharp as a blackthorn bush. His voice, eddying with the vowels of all rivers, came back to me, though he did not speak yet. A voice like a prosecutor's or a singer's, cunning, narcotic, mimic, definite as a steel nib's downstroke, quick and clean. And suddenly he hit a litter basket with his stick, saying, "Your obligation is not discharged by any common right. What you must do must be done on your own. So get back in harness. The main thing is to write for the joy of it. Cultivate a worklust that imagines its haven like your hands at night, dreaming the sun in the sunspot of a breast. You are fasted now. Light-headed, dangerous. Take off from here and don't be so earnest. Let others wear the sackcloth and the ashes. Let go, let fly, forget. You've listened long enough. Now strike your note."
So the principal theme of the second movement of The Helping Hand I have taken from a traditional air called Port na Boogie, which translates into English as the song or the tune of the spirits. And it comes from Inishfikalan, one of the Blasket Islands off the coast of Kerry. And Seamus Heaney first heard this air in the late 1960s when Mary and himself made a trip down to Coolay near Ballyverney, southwest Cork, to visit with Sean O'Reada, the composer and musician Sean O'Reada. And so moved was Seamus by this that he this glorious air, that he wrote the poem The Given Note off the back of that. O'Reada, of course, conducted the Ulster Orchestra in the Whitla Hall in Belfast at the Belfast Festival at Queen's in the late 1960s, so a very strong association there as well. And the content of the poem, The Given Note, is really Seamus urging himself, striving to be a better poet. It was a kind of leitmotif to some degree in a lot of Seamus's writing, always trying to go better and go deeper and find the best way of explaining himself. So a very glorious poem, and it influenced the slow movement, the middle movement that you're about to hear from The Helping Hand. And then, of course, as I said earlier, Station Island, and specifically sequence 12 from Station Island, the great encouragement of Joyce to Heaney spurred him on, and I have to say that Seamus was a great encourager of my own work, and for that I'm deeply indebted to him. I hope you enjoy.
The Given Note. On the most westerly Blasket, in a dry stone hut, he got this air out of the night. Strange noises were heard by others who followed, bits of a tune coming in on loud weather, though nothing like melody. He blamed their fingers and ear as unpractised, their fiddling easy, for he had gone alone into the island and brought back the whole thing. The house throbbed like his full violin. So whether he calls it spirit music or not, I don't care. He took it out of wind off mid-Atlantic. Still, he maintains, from nowhere. It comes off the bow gravely, rephrases itself into the air.
Seamus wrote a great poem for me in 1996. Very special. Very special. It's called Keeping Going. I keep saying, I got a great shock. Shock's maybe the wrong word, but I got a great surprise the night that the book was launched in Dublin, April 1996. About walking through the kitchen years ago when I was a wee fella, a young lad, with a chair upside down. As if it was in a pipe band. I did dream of it being in a pipe band. And then it was at the launch of the book, the spirit level. I couldn't believe. He says, "This is for Hugh." And he read it and I couldn't believe what I heard. And it's so true, real, like Seamus, all Seamus's work. It's true. Especially when you use from childhood and his poem, and I love it. It's very, very, very special. Keeping going, just like to read the first stanza and the last stanza. The paper coming from far away is you, with a white rice brush for a sporn, wobbling around you, a kitchen chair upside down on your shoulder, your right arm pretending to tuck the bag beneath your elbow, your pop eyes and big cheeks nearly bursting with laughter, but keeping the drone going on interminably between the catches of breath. And that's the last, and I like it a lot too. My dear brother, you have good stamina. You stay on where it happens. Your big tractor pulls up at the diamond. You wave at people. You shout and laugh above the revs. You keep old roads open by driving on the new ones. You call the paper spurns white rice brushes, then dressed up and march us through the kitchen. But you cannot make the dead walk or right wrong. I see you at the end of your tether sometimes in the milking parlour, holding yourself up between two cows until your turns go past, then coming to in the smell of dung again, and wondering, is this all, as it was in the beginning, as now and shall be? Then rubbing your eyes and seeing your old brush up on the byre door, and keeping going. And I love it. It's very, very, very special.